Welcome, everybody, to the Neutral Zone Infraction Northwest podcast. I'm Drew, and we're going to do a show today, about some sports. Now, I missed last week. There was an election. There was all kinds of craziness, and, I didn't get my podcast in. I'm a grown man with an adult job, and, sometimes I just don't have time. But this week, I made time. I missed you guys. I'm sure you missed hearing my sweet, sweet voice. But I got a lot to catch up on, so we're going to get right into it. First thing I want to talk about is, I know it might be hard to remember after the Seahawks went into Foxborough and got probably one of the biggest statement wins in the NFL this year, if not the biggest. But we had a game against the Buffalo Bills on Monday night, which we also won. So you know what? We're trending in the right direction. But I just wanted to talk, real quickly about that game. It was a good game. It was kind of back and forth, a lot of passing. Jimmy Graham was awesome in that game. 2 one-handed touchdown grabs, and my gosh, we should throw the ball to Jimmy Graham. 2 out of every 3 passes that we throw should be thrown at Jimmy Graham. The other 1 pass should be thrown at Doug Baldwin. I think that's the perfect ratio. If it gets, easy to read for the other team, it doesn't matter, because Jimmy Graham can catch the ball with 6 people hanging off one arm and another person who he has in a chokehold with the other arm. He'll just catch it with his pinky and catch a touchdown pass. So, it doesn't matter. We should throw the ball to Jimmy Graham a whole lot more. But, that's not the most recent game we had. The most recent game we had was against the New England Patriots. Now, what a game that was. They seemed content to just run the ball. Run it. They didn't really have much of a passing game. I think Tom Brady threw for under 200 yards or just over. No touchdowns, 1 interception. Of course, LeGarrette Blount showed up and was looking like Marshawn Lynch at times, especially that one goal line run he had where he ran the entire length of the line of scrimmage, getting hit by 12 different guys, even though there were only 11 on the field, and he still scored a touchdown. So, that was cool, I guess. But it was a great game. Great statement win. We put the NFL really on notice with that win. People were like, oh, Russell Wilson's hurt. The Seahawks miss Marshawn Lynch, which we do. They're not as dominant defensively as they once were in these past years. Well, we went out and we proved them that we can beat anybody at any time. Our best is better than really anyone's. And I believe that through and through. Even if the Patriots had a better day than they had yesterday, even if their fans showed up to do some work for them, which they didn't, I think that the Seahawks, at the peak performance that I know that they can reach, are ultimately a better team. But it didn't matter. Didn't matter on Sunday. We toe-to-toe. There were 8 lead changes in that game, which is a crazy amount. It was just back and forth. Now, normally the Seahawks will fall behind and then do a great surge and win in the fourth quarter or lose in the fourth quarter, or they'll just beat up on somebody, and it won't be close for the whole game. And that's really the 2 different Seahawk teams that we've seen recently. But this one was real back and forth. Every time we needed to score, we did. Of course, there were fewer red zone touchdowns than I would have liked, but we went toe-to-toe with them, and we came out ahead. And at the very end of the game, it was a fourth quarter, 4th down. This is the last play of the game. Regulation, if they score a touchdown and get an extra point, then it's tied. If they don't, then it's game over. And the Seahawks showed once again that we were willing to defend every single blade of grass down to the very goal line. Cam Chancellor came up with a good heads-up play, and Rob Gronkowski didn't catch the ball in the fourth quarter. Should have ran it, Bill, but that's not for me to say. Great game. And that's going to bring me to my love, not so much love, Seahawks of the week. First, I'm going to start with not so much love. This one was a pretty easy choice for me. Jermaine Kearse. I feel like Jermaine Kearse, the history of Jermaine Kearse is he's there. He's not like an elite wide receiver, but he'll make a really, really clutch catch for you when he needs to. Well, last Sunday, what I saw was he caught one good pass, and the rest of the passes that were in his general direction, which some of them were kind of hard to catch, but still, he didn't come down with any other passes. He came down with one pass, and he was targeted like 4 or 5 times. So at some point, you just got to not go to him because either he's not open enough for Russell to make a good, safe enough throw to get it to him, or his hands, he's just not catching it. You know, I don't think he's been as fast or as explosive as we've seen Jermaine Kearse this whole season. And in this game, that really showed. Not super happy with Jermaine Kearse, but the result was fine. We ended up winning anyway. Love Seahawk of the Week. Now, this one was easy and it was hard. It was hard because there were lots of great performances all around. I mean, you got Russell Wilson, Doug Baldwin, of course, 3 touchdown grabs. Are you kidding me? Every time I turn around, I'm seeing Doug Baldwin doing something awesome and him just not being my Love Seahawk of the Week. Maybe it's because he's underrated, and maybe it's because maybe I don't appreciate him as much as I should, even though I do, Doug. If you're listening, Doug, I appreciate you. I think you're a top wide receiver in the NFL. But this week, it was clear it was going to be CJ Prosise, who's the Love Seahawk of the Week. And not only for what CJ Prosise did in this game, but what Christine Michael didn't do against the Buffalo Bills. And what Christine Michael didn't do against the Buffalo Bills is rush the ball. A running back who can't rush the ball. Seems like a recipe for release, which did happen today. Christine Michael released by the Seattle Seahawks. Shows the imminent return of Thomas Rawls and that Pete and John loved CJ Prosise's performance as much as I did. So you go from, this is literally the stat line from the Monday night game against the Buffalo Bills. CJ Prosise, rushing attempts, 5 yards, 1. 1.2 yards a carry. God. You know, I could rush for 1 yard a carry. You could put me 3 yards back, have Russell hand me the ball, and against a professional offensive line, I could rush for 1 yard. Don't believe me? Suit me up. Pay me, I'll do it. 1 yard a carry. It's not going to cut it in the NFL, and it's certainly not going to cut it for Christine Michael, who is now no longer a member of the Seattle Seahawks. But here's what CJ Prosise did do. He did get 153 all-purpose yards against the Patriots. And that's what's so great about him. Not only can he rush the ball, he had 17 attempts and 67 yards rushing, which is, you know, pretty good. And he had 4 receptions for 80 yards. 4 receptions for 80 yards. He was a receiver in college. He was a wide receiver for Notre Dame. So he comes in, he's able to catch the ball out of the backfield. He's able to run those sneaky wheel routes like you saw him with the big gainer down the side. You know which one I'm talking about. And he's really an all-purpose back in a lot of ways. And you know what he showed me? He showed me that he can rush between tackles too. He can go right down the middle and still pick up yards, which he did. Excellent. That's what we need. I'm seeing in my mind, if Thomas Rawls can stay healthy, Thomas Rawls first, second down, CJ Prosise on third down, or CJ Prosise on second down, CJ Prosise in passing downs, where he really gives you something to think about. Can he rush it? Yeah, he can. Can he catch it? Certainly can. Just another weapon for Russell Wilson and the Seahawks offense. And it's really been a shift to a passing offense for the Seahawks. With the offensive line struggles that we've had, even though they played really well this last week. And really, we're a passing offense now. It's what we are. And I don't have a problem with it. It's the way the league's gone. I think as long as we're able to still keep our identity, keep our physical mentality, I think that with the emergence of Russell Wilson as an elite top-tier quarterback, being a passing offense is just fine. So that's my recap for the Seahawks these last 2 weeks. That was a lot of information in a short amount of time. If you have questions, you can tweet me at Neutral Zone Northwest or send your questions to Neutral Zone Infraction NW at gmail.com. Or comment on this video, like, subscribe, share, do all those social media things. If you have a question, I'll answer it. Maybe not well. I don't know. Who knows? I'm not a doctor. I'm not a magician. What are you talking about? So that brings me into the topic of the week. today's been a day full of news. Let me tell you what. Today I learned that Russell Wilson is now going to be part of the group, the ownership group, if you will, that is trying to bring the NBA and NHL to Seattle. They're trying to get an arena built in Seattle, in SoDo, in the heart of downtown Seattle. That means so many things. Oh man, my head just kind of went with the news. It was crazy. Here's what it does. I don't know how much all of you know about the debacle of the NBA in Seattle. We left. Supersonics became the Oklahoma City Thunder. Old news, old story, old tears. Well, for quite a few years now, quite a number, I don't know the exact number, Chris Hansen has been trying to get an arena built and get an NBA team specifically into Seattle. He did the thing where he bought everyone in downtown Seattle a beer. He, at one point tried to acquire the Sacramento Kings and move them over here and rename them the Supersonics. A lot of stuff has happened. Long and the short of it, nothing's gotten done. There's been opposition from the NBA. There's been, of course, opposition from the Sacramento Kings. Then, Steve Ballmer, who was one of his biggest supporters, left and bought the Clippers. The Port of Seattle doesn't want us to be there, or us, doesn't want the arena to be there. There was a city council vote that voted against it. All kinds of stuff. All kinds of stuff getting in the way of this. So that's where Russell Wilson comes in. And what does Russell Wilson do? He apparently approaches them and joins the group, and they're more than happy to have him because he's a face. He of course wouldn't be majority owner. He's not that rich yet. I mean, I'm sure he's cashing some sweet checks from Bose and Alaska Airlines and of course the Seattle Seahawks, but he's not rich enough to own an NBA team. He's rich enough to be a minority owner for sure, which is what I think he's trying to do. And to be a face, to be a spearhead, to be a champion of the Northwest when he helps bring these two sports to Seattle. And so he writes this Players Tribune article, writes it himself, and he talks about how he was a Seattle Supersonics fan even though he lived on the East Coast as a kid because of NBA Jam on the Super Nintendo. Go read it. I'm not gonna go through the whole thing with you. It was a phenomenal piece, well written. It tugs on the heartstrings a little bit just because he's right. He talks about how sports are so important, and they're so important to unifying people in such a divisive time. I mean, if this election didn't tell you anything about people being divided, then you don't have your eyes on right. Being on social media this last week and a half has been practically unbearable. So it's just a lot of this and that and my thing and this thing. And the thing that I see, and what Russell Wilson sees, is he sees people coming together for sports. It's something that no matter who you voted for, no matter what your religion is, no matter what your race, your ethnicity, how old you are, it's something that a whole group of people in an area and even outside of their area can have together. And he wants more of that in Seattle. We've got the Seahawks, which are a great franchise. The Mariners, great franchise. Still working on winning, but great franchise. And to bring the Supersonics, who were at times in Seattle the best franchise there for sure. You got Sean Kemp, you got Gary Payton, Ray Allen, all these people. And for a while we were going to have Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, but whatever. So it's another thing. It's in a season where there's not other sports from February or whenever the Seahawks are out of the playoffs until April, when you can start watching spring training games and you can start watching regular season games for the Mariners. There's this gap. And having an NBA team, more than just bringing a different sort of sports fan. I mean, not everybody that loves football loves baseball, basketball, hockey, vice versa. So it gives people more ways to be unified. And basketball's fun. It's fun to watch. It's fun to play. And I would absolutely love to have a basketball team in Seattle. Now, I don't know that much about hockey. I've never really watched hockey. I mean, I've watched Olympic hockey sometimes. I've watched a few NHL games on TV. I find the puck hard to follow, but I'm sure I would learn. Of course, I would learn hockey. I'm a gigantic sports fan. I would love a Seattle hockey team so I could learn all the rules, learn about players, who's good, what team's good, what coaches are good, offenses that work, defenses, all that kind of stuff. I love it. It gives me more sports to love, and it'll give the people more sports to love, and it'll help the economy in downtown Seattle. It's like a win-win-win. Russell Wilson sees it, and he is championing it for us as a fan base, as a community. I couldn't be more happy with Russell Wilson right now. Sometimes he's a weird dude, but you can't deny that he's a great dude. He does everything. He does so many things right. He doesn't do everything right. He does so many things right. He's exactly what you want the face of your franchise to be. He's a great quarterback. I mean, I'm having a bro crush over Russell Wilson right now when he came out and said he was going to do this. More than I already do, which is extensive. But it's bring it to Seattle. You got nothing to lose. This market has shown that if you give it a team, it's going to show up. The return of the Seattle Supersonics would be great for the NBA. It would be great for the city of Seattle. It'd be great for all the ownership in the NBA. Crazy that it hasn't happened again already. Crazy that it left in the first place. And NHL is the same way, I'm sure. So get it here. I think Russell Wilson is the type of guy who can and will help to get it done. Now, he's not the main guy. He's not the main figurehead. That's Chris Hansen, of course. And I think that the pull that comes with being Russell Wilson in Seattle, I mean, championship, Super Bowl winning quarterback Russell Wilson might lend a little weight to help get this thing done. Let's get it done. Let's get some more sports in Seattle so I can talk about more things. All of the things. It would be very exciting. So that's your topic of the week. I don't have any questions to read this week. I mean, if you guys have ideas for topics, if you have questions, if you have things that I said that you don't agree with and you want me to know, man, I love all that. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a rational debate about something, and we can really, really work towards maybe making it better for people when they decide to debate about other things maybe than sports. But this is a sports show, so I would want to talk about sports things. Of course, you can talk to me about anything you want. I'm always open to that. So we're going to move on. This part of the show is one of my favorite parts of the show. This is where I pick games that haven't happened yet. Now, I missed last week. Kind of a bummer. I had some good picks, but I didn't record a show, so I don't count them. So, overall total, 71, 45, and 2. It's a pretty, now that we've got a bigger sample size, maybe you guys are starting to realize, oh, maybe Drew knows something. Except for that one time he picked the Jaguars to beat the Tennessee Titans and they clubbed him over the head. Well, let me tell you what. You're right. That was a dumb pick. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. Well, that's not going to happen. Anyways, picks this week. Week 11. Week 11. We're getting there. We're moving right along. I'm excited. Seahawks are going to do great things. Here we go. Thursday Night Football. Saints at Panthers. Panthers are going to win that game. Should be a good one, though. You know, high-powered offense. I don't know what incentive the Panthers have. They have to win. They have to win a lot of games. And this is really important for them if they even want to please have a breath for the playoffs. They have to win. So I think they will. Divisional game at home. Panthers. All right. Next game. Cardinals at Vikings. Now, the Cardinals are a little bit of a mystery. They were really good last year. They had a lot of weapons. They did a really good job. This year, not so much. They seem to kind of play down to their opponent. I am of the mind that Carson Palmer is done. Like, he is put a fork in him. I don't think that he sees it like he once did. I don't think his body responds like it did. So I'm giving this one to the Vikings D. I think the Vikings D at home will have a good outing. I think that they'll win the turnover battle and thus win the game. I think that Sam Bradford and that offense will do enough to win. They're on a definite losing streak. They need to pull out of the free fall. Lucky for them, the rest of their division is kind of having that same sort of thing. The Packers are in dire straits right now. The Lions really look poised to maybe come out and win that division, but I mean, they're the Lions. They always mess up in the big games. So I have no idea who's going to win the NFC North. It's anybody's game except for the Bears. So I think the Vikings will win this game against the Cardinals. Next game, Bills at Bengals. Bengals played a really close one, really tough one with the Giants last night for me. And the Bengals, look good at times, but they also, I couldn't really see them rush the ball. I mean, sometimes they would get it going with Gio Bernard kind of on an out sweep toss type play, but with Jordan Hill up the middle, I didn't really see them get much going. Of course, the Giants have a great D line, and that has something to do with it. I'm still picking the Bengals though. I think that the Bengals will do enough to win. I think Andy Dalton to A.J. Green is second only to Matt Ryan to Julio Jones at this point, which, of course, is third to Russell Wilson to Doug Baldwin. But, I mean, they're not even in the conversation. So I think that the Bengals are going to end up winning this one at home. The Bills they're a real streaky team. I think they'll be able to run the ball, but I don't think it'll be enough for them to go into Cincinnati and win. Next game, Bears at Giants. Every time I think about the Bears, I just want to see what happens with Jay Cutler. Is he going to get another job after the Bears? I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know. He might be a backup somewhere. He's still got one of the best arms in the league as far as sheer arm strength. So that's definitely going for them, but they're definitely not going to go into MetLife and win against Eli Manning and the Giants, who look pretty good. Eli Manning looks pretty good. I think the Giants will end up getting a wild card in the NFC, maybe, depending on how things shake up in the North. But the NFC East division is looking good so far. I think they're the best in the NFC right now, which is crazy because 2-3 years ago they were the worst. So, but I think the Giants are going to win at home. And now you're asking yourself, Drew, are you going to pick an away team this week? Why, yes, I am. Steelers at Browns. Steelers. Excellent. I picked an away team. High five. Bucks at Chiefs. Oh, here I go. Picking another one. I like the Bucks at Kansas City. Now, this one might not be as popular, but let me explain myself. Jameis Winston is looking pretty good. He's looking pretty good this year. Mike Evans, of course, is huge and tall and can catch a lot of balls. And the Chiefs are doing that thing too where they're doing just enough to win in a miraculous way at the very end, which, that doesn't bode well for a lot of victories, even though they've seemed to be on the lucky side of it this year. I still don't know what they're doing with their rushing attack and things like that. Their defense is the one that's winning them the games. So it should be a good matchup against the Tampa Bay's offense and the Chiefs' defense. But I like the Bucs coming in and getting an upset win over the Chiefs for sure. All right, next game, Ravens at Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys are looking pretty good. They're looking pretty good. Now, I'm not all high on the Cowboys like sports media is. I'm not all like, oh, Dak Prescott and Zeke Elliott for life. Zeke Elliott for MVP. No, I'm not feeling that so much. He can rush. He can rush behind that offensive line. Dak Prescott's done enough to win him games. He doesn't look awesome. I never once when I was watching that Dallas Steelers game was I like, oh man, Dak Prescott's the difference. Which is what a lot of these people are saying, and I don't see it. Now, is that hypocritical a little bit? Because As a fan of the Seahawks, when Russell Wilson came in as a rookie, I was like, yeah, Russell Wilson. Who's Matt Flynn? We don't need him. And, that's exactly what the Cowboys are doing right now. Tony Romo who? So it could turn out the same way for them. Dak Prescott could be the fourth round gem and the guy that is the Cowboys for the next forever. I think that he has the potential to be a franchise guy in the not making mistakes category, but I don't see him being the difference. The difference is that offensive line, Ezekiel Elliott running the ball behind it. He's a quick guy. And, the level of competition. It was a good game against the Steelers. Steelers are a good team. They got absolutely shredded on the rush. That defense is not what it used to be. But I want to see them play a truly, a top tier team. I want to see them play the Seahawks. I want to see them play the Patriots. I want to see them play Atlanta. That would be a good game too. So I'm waiting. I'm not all in on the Cowboys. However, I am picking them against the Ravens. That's sort of the long way for me to say I'm picking the Cowboys over the Ravens. All right, next game. Jags at Lions. I was wrong. You mark your calendar. I was wrong. The Jaguars are not good. They should be. But they're Jaguaring it up right now. So they're going to get another top draft pick. And next year I'll be like, yes, Jaguars, this is the year. They can do it with all these young people. They're like the team that you secretly root for, kind of, because they don't affect your actual team that you actually root for in any way, but you kind of want to see them do good just because you feel just no reason at all. You just feel like you do. Well, that's the Jaguars for me. And I like Gus Bradley, and I hope he keeps his job. But they're not good. They're just not. So, I'm sorry. I was wrong. Jaguars, not good. Lions, good-ish? Question mark? Lions at home, gonna win. All right, Titans at Colts. Whew, what a statement win for the Tennessee Titans. Oh, Tennessee Titans. Why'd you name your team a tongue twister? Gosh. Geez, Tennesseans. I have no idea. Anyways, statement win for the Titans on Sunday against the Green Bay Packers. Now, I say statement win not because the Green Bay Packers are a great team this year, but because of the name that comes with Green Bay Packers and, beating a top-tier quarterback and the way that they did it. They don't let the score, which was crazy favorable, the Titans, they beat up the Packers 47-20 something, and it was not close. And the Packers have a whole lot of problems, don't get me wrong. The Packers, I'll get into it when I pick their game, but they've got a lot of problems. But the Titans, they've got a two-headed rushing attack. DeMarco Murray is just rushing the ball, getting touchdowns like crazy. Even threw a touchdown pass this week, so good for him. And I think Derrick Henry is going to be really good too. The guy's like a hammer. He's super good. That going into, and they're really trying to keep pace with the Texans in order to win that division, which I think they have the capability of doing. Marcus Mariota looking really good, throwing a lot of touchdown passes. His passer rating was 149 point something this last week, which was exceptional. And, the Colts at home, there's an advantage there, but I think the Titans are hungrier, and I don't think that Andrew Luck has the weapons, so I'm going Titans in this game. Dolphins at Rams. Well, Jared Goff is going to start this week. If you don't remember who Jared Goff is, back in April, or was it May? I forget when the draft is. Sometime in that area. This last draft, number 1 overall, Jared Goff to the Rams. Now, we've seen some rookie quarterbacks start this year. Jared Goff has not been one of them. Looks like they're finally ready to rolling him on out there and see what he can do after not scoring a touchdown again. The Rams have actually won more games that they haven't scored a touchdown in including the one where they beat the Seahawks and the one last week, than when they do score a touchdown. So they win more when they don't score a touchdown than when they do. Not a recipe for winning football. So I guess they're going to get him some reps, which is what I was pleading for. Get the kid some reps. All right, Jared Goff. I'm excited to see what he does. Should be interesting. I don't think they win. I think that the Dolphins win. I think that Jared Goff throws 3 interceptions and fumbles once. So put a pin in that, and should be fun to watch because I don't like the Rams, and neither should you. All right, next game. Pats at Niners. Well, if there was like an earthquake in the stadium, no, I'm just kidding. That's awful. Stop it, Drew. Anyways, Pats are going into San Francisco, and I think that the 49ers are a 2-3 win team. Right now they have 1 win. I don't think that they get one away from the Pats this week. That's all I have to say about that. Pats. All right. Here's a good one. Eagles at Hawks. Now, this is going to be a good game. It's going to be a good game. Their defense is good. I like Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is pretty good. What I don't see from that team, and what I haven't, is when they get behind, can they come back and win? Can they stretch the field with their offense when they need to? Go deep balls, deep passes, and make it work. I haven't seen that happen yet. So, and against our defense, I don't anticipating it happen. So, definitely, and we're playing at home. So, I wasn't going to pick against us anyway. I'm not trying to convince anybody that the Hawks are going to win. I'm just saying these are the things that I see from the Eagles. They're good, but they're not that good. And we are at home. So we're going to win. Hawks. All right. Next game. We've got Green Bay at the Redskins. So as far as this game is concerned, I told you that there were some things about Green Bay that I wanted to talk about. And the biggest bugaboo, if you will, for the Patriots is the injuries. Their secondary is decimated. It is just gnarly nasty. Also, Clay Matthews has been out. So their pass rush, and he does so much more than pass rush. He's a good tackler, good run defender. So, if you went through our defense and took out Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas, and Cam Chancellor, Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas, KJ Wright, just those 3, it would be a completely different defense. And that's some of what the Packers are experiencing, along with their running backs not being healthy, receivers that can't really get open except for Devontae Adams. I think it's time to start thinking about maybe a rebuild while Aaron Rodgers still has his window, which is, of course, for the next several years because he's still a youngish guy. I don't know if Mike McCarthy gets fired. I think if they continue to lose, he definitely does. So, should be interesting, but I think Washington's been playing well. Kirk Cousins has been playing well. He finally figured out how to not be scared of his contract, Kirk Cousins. So, that should be a good game, but I think the Redskins are going to win at home. All right. Monday Night Football. Texans at Raiders. Now, the Raiders have also looked really good. They beat the Broncos on Sunday night 2 weeks ago at home. First place Raiders. So that's crazy. We haven't said that in quite some time. So it's fun for them. Good young team. Derek Carr plays really well. Michael Crabtree is catching touchdown passes. So good for him. But I think that the Raiders are going to win that game. So those are my picks for this week. That's my podcast for this week. Actually going to end up being a little shorter than I thought it would be. I probably talked a bajillion miles an hour, and when I listen to this, it's going to be like, well, we got to re-record because you talked a bajillion miles an hour. But who knows? Maybe you guys are going to get this just raw, uncut version, which is honestly what you normally get. So we're going to end this podcast while it's still got wheels on it. Remember, If you have questions, comments, if you like the show, tell some people, help a brother out. I do this for fun, but still, it'd be nice if people listened. That'd be great. So, tell your friends, like, share, comment, subscribe. You know all the places. You know all the things. I missed you guys. Thanks for listening. Have a good week.